Now I invite Dasho Pema Thinley, sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Royal University of Bhutan, for the keynote address 3.
In Bhutan, we call it a GNH society. Only in a GNH society, that means gross national happiness, can you have a harmonious society or gross. If you have gross national happiness, the society has to be harmonious. So an education that's suited for that is what I'm asked to share my experiences, and I put it in the case of Bhutan, because in Bhutan we talk about gross national happiness. So just for those of you who do not know Bhutan, Bhutan is a Himalayan kingdom ruled by monarchs from 1907. Our monarchs are quite different. Our king, the first king, was elected by the feuding lords. They were quite tired of the wars, feuds that they have had, and they had decided that the wisest must rule. And that was how our first king was elected in 1907. And then, after 1 century, exactly 100 years, the monarch felt that this should be handed back to the people. And so, in 2008, constitutional monarchy with an elected parliament was instituted, and so that becomes, Bhutan becomes one of the youngest democracies in the world. So that's where we are. Just a little bit of a background about Bhutan. A very small country, of course, as you know. And these monarchs, our kings, are special people. Because I suppose, one, they had been elected. Secondly, they take the responsibility that they should serve the people. They are not there to rule, they are there to serve the people. So I think the people in their heart are at the topmost. For Bhutan, we have been very lucky that we should have such successive kings who have ruled us. And then they make sure that the next king is also educated well and brought up well. Educated means brought up to be fit for king to serve the people. So, so only such kings can then think about gross national happiness. And we have always thought, under the leadership of our monarchs, gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. And gross national happiness has given us the guiding light for all our development activities under their rules. If you really think about this, the meaning of gross national happiness, it is very profound. You can only have the highest gross national happiness when each person in the kingdom is happy. You can only have that. And then I just find parallels to what I'm not quite sure how many people know. You must be knowing Shanti Deva, the profound, the way of the Bodhisattva, how the Bodhisattvas should rule their lives. And I just find very, very much parallel in between these two. So I think this profound meaning, and then the sole responsibility of our king and the whole government became enhancing the happiness of all the people. And then, of course, when we talked about happiness, people at that time talked about happiness. How can you measure happiness? Are you talking something fictitious? It's definitely not fictitious, because we all want to be happy. So at that time, the government, because the government under the kings we are quite sure that we can feel, maybe we may not be able to measure happiness, but we can definitely create the conditions where the greatest number of people can feel happy. This is what we have been telling them. So initially what this gross national happiness concept as a guiding light did was it provided largely an intuitive insight into what kind of conditions, no? At least they knew the government has to be good governance. So I think what we said was, yes, happiness is a state of mind. Maybe it's not measurable and objectified, but then definitely we can create conditions, and we know what conditions has to prevail in a country for people to be happy. And we said, okay, sustainable livelihood, definitely, the physical. Remember when Ganeshji talked about these three, the physical conditions, our body, we have the body, and therefore the body has to be looked after. The physical facilities are necessary. So, but it has to be also sustainable, produced in a sustainable way. Then we said, okay, the environment has to be looked after. We need the water, we need the air, we need all the beautiful forests and everything else. That has to be sustainable, that has to be looked after. Then you said the cultural vitality includes education, health, your own vibrant culture where people can relate and live together. We were talking about relationship. That has to be there. And then all that at a global level will depend on good governance. That is what we have been talking about, this gross national happiness. Again, as a background to my real substance, which is about education for a harmonious society. As I said, our inspiration has always been our kings. And here it is. Today, Bhutan, we feel very happy. We have 3 generations of kings here. The grandfather king, the present king, and the future king. All there. And that's how we prepare our leadership. And we feel very, very lucky. And they groom. These people get groomed. I think as a baby who is growing up, I feel sometimes sorry that he's actually being groomed now. So the person, our king, the 4th king, who said, actually it was in Mumbai, when he was coming back from Havana, from a non-aligned summit, some Indian journalists asked him, what is Bhutan's gross national product? What can a king of a small country say about gross national product? Probably our country is smaller than many of the villages in India. Population-wise, resource-wise, everything. So he said this. Of course, it was profoundly in his mind. He was using this, and that is why he said, in Bhutan, we don't measure gross national product. We measure our well-being by gross national happiness. So it caught the attention of the world. Attention. So this king who said this also said, because I have been a teacher, I have been a primary teacher, I have become a secondary teacher, then went into the higher education, and all the way right through I have been an educator. And I have had occasions to meet His Majesty, and always his advice or his demand or his command for the teachers would be the responsibility of our teachers above all else, above mathematics, above English, above everything else, is to teach our children to take care of their minds, take care of the minds, and to be mindful of their actions in body, speech and mind. This has always been his stance. And that's what we are talking about, character building, no? Which basically happens in the mind. Our present king was invited in 2010 to the Kolkata, the convocation of the Kolkata University And he said this in his speech. This is an extract from his speech, and he said, as we become better human beings, and here in the universal human values, we are talking about better human beings, with this right understanding, right feeling in every individual. That is our aim. If there is right understanding, right feeling in every individual, then there cannot be anything else. That can be happiness. That is what happiness means. Then he said, if we have, as we become better human beings, we build better families. When we understand and work with that goal, it cannot be anything else, but we will have more than what we want in terms of physical facilities in our families. Because family, a group of people working together, understanding, working towards an objective. And then, if we build better families, then we have stronger communities. If everybody in the family were, so I'm just imagining, if everybody was happy in the family, they have enough of everything that they want, then why would they go into the streets and do anything to any other people? So you will have no fear going up into the community. Fearless and trust in the society. I can walk in the middle of the night or any time of the day and without fear. Isn't that a state that you would feel very confident, you'll feel very happy? Fearlessness in the society. And then if we have everything is enough, everybody understand, then why would they make dig up where you do not need to dig up? Why would you extract things that you do not really need? Because I think Ganesh ji keep on saying that everything that we need are thrown up by nature to the surface of the earth. We just have to use it. Coexistence with nature is going to be a natural thing. That's what our king was saying. And I thought when we were comparing with the universal human values, this is what we talk about. This is a harmonious society. And this is a GNH society. Same thing. The question is, okay, how do you produce this? Education. You know, that's what we are supposed to explore. So what has this philosophy done for Bhutan? If we are looking at now, and I am reflecting it now, I think it has given overall balance, some balance in the way that we developed. It has, okay, sustainable economic development has always been at the back of our policymakers, the government's mind. So they could always keep that in mind. Say, for example, I know forests, we didn't overexploit it. We could have cut down our forest and sold it, but we didn't do that. We started doing that, but we stopped. Then, sustainable environment, cultural vitality. These are always in mind, and you can see that in Bhutan overall. And of course, good governance, because these are created in their minds, and then they ensure that this good governance is provided. But it's all that happy and good, and people want to come and see Bhutan and say, where is happiness? We always tell them, we did not say we have happiness. We said happiness is something profound to work to. And you can create conditions. That's what we said. We may not have the conditions, but that's what we said. And we are trying. We are working. in 2000, in our 109th National Day celebrations in 2016, our king, in his national address to the nation, said, not all things are all right. Not all things are all right. He said, it's increasing rural-urban migration. All our youth are leaving the villages and coming to the urban centers. And it is a reality. And what is it doing? They are abandoning their rural homes. We have locks on the doors of their ancestral homes. And the disappearance of villages is becoming real. Some of the smaller villages are, nobody's staying there. Some of the bigger villages are becoming empty and haunted. But there is unemployment in the urban centers. These people come to the urban centers, there's unemployment, and then there's shortage of labor in the villages. There's nobody to till our farms. So, and then what happens when people are congregating in urban areas? Drugs, substance abuse, suicides, increasing crime rates in urban centers. This is what is happening, even in a GNH country in Bhutan. So this was flagged as a concern. So what happened? And that is the issue. What happened? Why? Why is this happening? Education. I think we were not able to, we as teachers, and I feel very guilty, as teachers, we were not able to translate what our kings wished into action and provide this education to our students, training their minds. We were not able to do it. And we are not able to do it. Earlier last year, one of our thinkers in Bhutan, very critical thinkers, we call Dongsa Jamyang Khense, he gave an interview in one of our newspapers, and this is what he said, and this I thought was astounding. He said, the world's current education system is not only outdated and even obsolete, but it is literally destroying the world. I agree as an educator. This is what is happening. And he said, so long as our texts, teachers, and educational values glorify materialism, that's what we were talking about. The third, physical facilities, technological prowess, fame, career, and gain, we are lost. These are all the values that we promote at the moment in our education system, definitely in Bhutan. And then he said, sadly, Bhutan's present education system is relentlessly sucking the country and particularly its youth into that same destructive vortex. Everybody going to Thimphu, the big city. And he's saying Bhutan's imported education system transmits Western values, goals, and cultural norms that are entirely alien to Bhutan's own esteemed wisdom traditions. I suppose that's true for all our Asian countries. The wisdom traditions are forgotten, we have thrown it out, and we have inherited this Western education system, but they have got the values there. And we are taking it in, and this is what our children get, and so this is what we get as a result. What do you think? To me as an educator, I thought how true and how sad, and what can be done about it. So, be it as it may, but this is the reality, and this is something that as a proposal you would have to all think about it as educators and say what is happening. This is true, or what can be done about it. For Bhutan, I'm just lating a case for Bhutan. Bhutan started, and I'm just one of the first products. I started going to school in 1959 as a conscript. I was conscripted because my parents wouldn't like me to go to the school because school was not known. Since 1961, we established this public education system, and within this short period of 40 years, Bhutan has done marvelously in terms of education outreach. Our enrollment rates are almost 100% now. And even equity, range, based on all merit. Very good system. What have we missed? Providing right education in terms of teaching GNH values has been our challenge. That we could not do. We could not do. That is why we have all these problems. So educating for GNH could not be addressed as our king's desire. Our king's desire is, but we could not do it. As teachers, we have failed. So the missing link is human values, as we are talking here. Human values remain the missing link in the present curricula world over. This is a world phenomenon. I am quite convinced myself. We have failed. You have failed, and we have all failed. We do not teach that life's most important skill, happiness. How to be happy, we do not teach our children. And when we talk about human values, of course, we are talking about understanding ourselves as human beings, the mind and the body, and our relationship to the whole existence, how we relate, how is it? It's the whole understanding that we have to have. So this is where GNH, the universal human values, come in. In January, of course, 2012, I said I attended the first human values workshop in Kanpur, and then I think actually, and realized at that time that the work that Sri Gaur, Sangal and Bagaria and all their associates have done is a perfect fit into what could be our GNH education system. And we decided to try it in our colleges. I was the Vice Chancellor at that time. And as a Vice Chancellor, I can twist some hands. And I could encourage people. And then was able to do it. And we did quite a lot of mark. And I think the results, Lopin Lungtin, Dr. Nezang, are part of that initiative. But then I retired in 2014. And this was one of my greatest regrets, that something really that was missing we found, and we were introducing it, and then I had to retire. And when you have retired, then nobody listens. No, I think no. Nobody listens when you have retired. Okay. So you have to say I'm here. But I think through our experience, we had some, within these 2 years, what we have been able to do. I do not want to. There is no time. I don't want to narrate the story, but I just like to point out some impacts, some of which Levi Lungten already talked about. During that 2 years, what we were seeing is at the college level, where the program is going well, the students' discipline issues, the mess wastage, have been reported to be significantly reduced. And Levi Lungten highlighted this one also this morning. Some of the other feedbacks were the meaningful interaction. I think we were, what is Guru Shishya Parampara, is it? That is missing. And here, we were reported that this is being reintroduced, there's connection. What many people were saying was the meaningful interaction between the faculty who taught universal human values and the students are reported to have improved and to become more meaningful. The students are not running away when you are meeting on the street. They are coming and talking to you, these people, because they have something meaningful to talk. Otherwise, I have always found that they are running away from us. They want to avoid. No, that's an indication. And one hostel warden reported that actually he could sleep peacefully, which is again very good, I thought, for me. And students generally report of rethinking on their excessive use of facilities, they talk about, and demanding less pocket money, and ringing up their parents, that was mentioned. This is what happened in such a short time. Whether this is still continuing, when Newton was talking, in some places where they are pursuing this, is still continuing. So when I came across this Universal Human Values program in IIIT Hyderabad in 2012, and then have been sitting through the workshop and trying to learn about it, what I realized was the wisdom tradition itself is nothing new. Wisdom is always there, it has been there. And in Bhutan, it's there in every mountain, every valley, every household, but probably not felt. But what I realized was the method, how it is delivered. How would you create a 20th century method for transmitting or relating the wisdom that is there, which is ageless? And this is what these people have done. I realized that the method, the way the wisdom has been unpacked, made possible to be presented in the 21st century population, is the contribution of these people who have been working on this. Mentioned Professor Gaur, Sangal, Bagaria, and their associates. There are many people who are associated with it. Now we also become part of it. And I commend this. I think this is a real contribution. And in Bhutan, as much as our kings would command every time that we meet, we were not able to do this as teachers. We failed, absolutely. But these people have found us a way. And so I think AICT has done a wonderful job to have adopted, and then you're pushing it. But I also realize that such a method can only be created by those who truly understand this wisdom. Otherwise, you cannot unpack. You cannot repack it in a way that people can understand this. You cannot do that. And I can also see that the work there is continually evolving. It's improved. Incidentally, I think if there's anything that's worthwhile, it has to be continually evolving. And then this is what is happening to these universal human values as how it can be taught. Always something new comes up, and you look at it, and then we are able to change it. After some time, I realized that I even get a courage to change it, because this doesn't work. And this will happen to anybody who is trying to teach this. Just sitting in the workshop doesn't happen. You have to teach it. When you teach it, then you get the courage. The first workshop, then the second workshop, fifth workshop, then you are saying, oh, this is how it works. I can change this. So what happened? I retired in 2014. Now nothing to do. But this me, quite a lot of reflection, the universal human values. That's why I was saying it changed the course of my life. Probably I might have been dead by now if I didn't have this, because we have to be continually engaging. We have to feel useful as you have retired. And if you don't have that, you know, since our mind and body are so related, probably, there's quite a probability that I might have been dead. So 2 years in retirement, then I was thinking what to do now, this life. And also I know this. and I can explore. And when you explore and when you become certain, you want to share it with others. You don't want to keep it to yourself. And so we have been contemplating and say, I have thought about creating a place of contemplative practices just to pursue this. And even talked with my wife and said that's a possibility, but I think by the time you build these facilities, probably our life will have gone. But fortunately for me, it happened. I was presented this beautiful place. Just presented. I was just having a cup of tea in a meeting like this. And they said they are trying to create this and whether I might like to come and have a look. I said yes. They said when? Tomorrow. It has to be done now. So this place was presented by the grace of Her Majesty, the Gyeum Queen Mother, who sent us a message yesterday, which we read it out. She is the president of the Bhutan Youth Development Fund. And this place, about 1 hour drive from Thimphu. These are our hostels. We can have workshops like this. And this is the entrance. So in February 2017, I was asked to help to develop this Institute of Wellbeing, and I just would like to talk a little bit about this and then see what possibilities it holds, because I have only certain power, I realized. I said, as an individual, I have no power. GNH and all these people have developed this power. I have such a short time left to develop this. So I found that I am able to use the ideas that I had thought through, contemplated, thought about this, and I could use to develop this new institute, put these ideas in the new institute. And as it is new, I don't have to change an old culture, so it's much easier. The vision of the institute, just very briefly, is a happy and harmonious society. That's what we are thinking. We don't think ourselves very small. We think that by changing in the bush, by living in that little forest, very quiet, we can change the world. This is how we are thinking. Our mission is to model and demonstrate humane education and living, and founded on a real understanding of universal human values. Understanding that and living it accordingly. This is our mission. And of course, the Queen Mother is the president of the YDF, and also we receive the patronage, her patronage, and careful guidance. We have 4 centers. It's basically this institute, what we are trying to do. We have 4 centers. Center for Contemplative Education, Center for Treatment and Rehabilitation of Substance Use Disorder. Basically, this is a substance use. We have quite a challenge with substance use disorders amongst the youth. And Center for Holistic Living and Skills Development, and Center for Research and Development, which is just happened as an outcome of what is there. We just record what is happening in the institute. Now, I think here, the Center for Contemplative Education, which involves contemplation. Contemplation is looking inside rather than looking out. And then also it is the universal human values of how it's packaged going through that course. That is the basis of this institute, and therefore it's called the Institute of Bhutan Institute of Wellbeing. And you can see this is how we run our workshop. We sit on the floor, do a lot of contemplation. And I'm just wondering now, because everybody is feeling sleepy, Many people are feeling sleepy. Can I do a little bit of a contemplation with you?
Yes.
Yeah? Just to, okay, just to demonstrate what happens. The universal human values we all know. So contemplation, you also know, I think, but still we do it. Okay, a little bit of contemplation, maybe 2 minutes. So when you do the contemplation, you cannot be sleepy. Okay, so you have to sit straight on your, even if you have got a nice comfortable chair, don't lean back. You have to put your back straight. So this is the thumb rule. So we say body straight, and then your feet has to be just flat on the ground like this. If you are sitting on the chair as you are doing, and if you are not leaning back, then your feet will be naturally flat. Your chest open, and your head just sitting on the back of your spine. So this is part of our method that we also use. We use human values, but also looking at and experiencing your own mind and the state of your mind. The more you do it, you become good. So our objectives in this center are about inspired self-exploration. That's the thing. And I was thinking yesterday when we talked about these traditions, doesn't matter which tradition you talk about, Buddhist tradition, Sikh tradition, Vedic tradition, Muslim tradition. It's all about exploring and understanding right living, happiness and well-being. That's all that it is doing. Whether it's Sikh, Buddhism, Hinduism, it's our labels that we have put, and that makes it difficult for us to allow us to explore like this. And then the second one is develop a living model within the institute with the activity for right understanding and developing the capacity to live in relationship, as well as the competence for production, right utilization and sharing. We are starting a little farm and see what kind of food we can produce. We want to show it, see whether we can model it. And we are experimenting and modeling teaching of human values in a variety of settings. And the starting point is with the program for recovering addicts. These people who have got substance use disorders. Government organizations, corporate houses, schools, villages, and so on. So we run two programs. Basically, one is just for the people who have got substance use disorders, and then trying to give a 3-month program. And the other one is to prevent this by giving this program to a variety of groups of people in human values workshops. So work in progress. What are we doing? Happiness model of treatment and rehabilitation for SUDs. This more or less established. We are working at it. This has been just run for about a year. And then I think we would like to document some of these successes. We would like to see what difference does it make when you put something like GNH values or universal human values into this program. When people get to look at themselves and understand themselves fully, what difference. And my hunch is that it will make quite a bit of difference. And we are working to develop Bhutan Institute of Wellbeing into a GNH-inspired living model, that people who live there will live according to that one. Because the conditions are right. We can nurture this. We can educate our people to do that. Right now, there is not enough time to really explore into this. We conduct workshops like this. These are just recent workshops that we have done for groups of people. There was a group of students from Naropa University and Paro College of Education that they came recently, and this is a picture of them. And this is the same thing. So we have done workshops in the last 1 year, one year and a half, workshop of GNH values, or universal human values for a variety of population groups. Farmers, local government officials, teachers, doctors, corporate, and private and government employees to youth groups and student groups. And what we have found is it all works for all that. It works. Everybody, you get similar kind of reactions. Of course, the language has to be a little different. For the farmers, we have to speak in local. Okay, but apart from that, people can understand. People can understand. We have had also some revealing feedbacks, many revealing feedbacks. Here, there are some only, and I'll just realize, I'll like to read just few. Here, there's the GEOC administrator. GEOC means our local administrator, the clerk of that one. Some of the clerks said GNH values or universal human values is the most meaningful training for people working at local grassroots level development. There are many young farmers, well, one young farmer definitely said this one, and I quote really, I realized that we have better conditions for happiness I realized through this workshop that we have better conditions for happiness in my village. I thought happiness is to be found only in cities like Thimphu or Thinley. These are young farmers, people who have just out of no choice become farmer. But then she suddenly realized that actually I can be very happy in my village. And I thought this is revealing. And another one said, understanding myself is something neither the parents nor the teachers taught me. If I understood about myself before, I would not be here today, I think they say. So all this is revealing is really something that we can connect it very easily. One of the addicts, recovering addicts said, sleeping is something that I really love. I loved. I wanted to sleep all the time. Attending the GNH values or universal human values has helped me to overcome the problem of sleeping. We were just talking in a taxi that we were traveling and said, what was the change? It's not really change. But one thing, I loved sleeping, but now I feel I have lost. Understand, the power of understanding is so profound. You connect it, your problem is over. This teacher said, I was under severe depression for the last 6 years. The 3 days workshop has helped me to suddenly come out of it. And many of them say happiness has been redefined, the purpose of human life is revealed. I know what the purpose of my human life is. And once people know like this and they can connect it, I think it's such a big, profound thing. One client who was with us, an illiterate, said when the 3 months finished, I go like it. I realized that the life I have been living was worse than an animal before. And from here I know what the purpose of human life is. I go like it. So I think with this one, without too much delay, I'd like to just make some proposals for the way forward. How do we go? And it's very good, sir, you are here. The essence of education, and for all countries, for any age, has to be, I said, GNH-inspired education or value-based education. Once it is there, then the whole meaning of education changes, as I have experienced. Otherwise, why should in our own system today, where children, I see these little kids going to school, PP, starting first school, very enthusiastic. Slowly, right through to the primary and the secondary, they get, this school is boring. They like to skip it. Why? Something is gone missing. No? They find that something is not relating it to their life. And these human values can really connect it to their lives. So GNH Inspired has to do with helping all students to explore within themselves the true human values and learn to live accordingly. This is what our education has to do. We have to have the courage to model it in our schools and institutions, and the rest will follow. This is again true for me. I think this is possible. And the thing is, a lot of people think that we have to create the curriculum and do everything for everybody. My proposal is don't do anything. Just do the workshops. It will change. Just find some space in the crowded curriculum that we have, maybe 1 or 2 hours per week, and it will change. Because I remember in Geju, we were having a human values workshop like this, and we had all these lecturers sitting. And one of the lecturers, at the end of one session, stood up and said, does it mean that I have to now throw away the 2,000 or 3,000 Milgram book that I had bought, saved up all my thing, and I bought it? It's just here. Does it mean that I have to now throw that one out? Yes, it will go out. I think that our teachers, when they understand these values, will change the curriculum. They will know. It will have a smooth sailing. I'm quite sure about it. Only thing the teacher has to understand. When the teacher understands, this will naturally come into your program. Your books will be changed. What books do you want to use? You will use it. Other books will go out of the window because it's no use. You know. The Institute of Wellbeing, of course, where I am at the moment engaged, we are ready to collaborate with any institution, any place, to work to reform our education. And I think personally it's so important. It has to change. It has to change. But in my exploration, what I found is there are some critical elements, and I was happy to see that other people are also reading this one into. The most critical element is the champions. The champion. If you have changed the Vice Chancellor and is convinced, like we have done with AICT, then it will say that goes smaller organizations, bigger organizations, country systems, but that person has to change, has to be convinced. And then the teachers are the next one, and that is very critical, I think. I have, when Ganesh ji mentioned and then Rajul ji mentioned that now AICT is taking this one up, I said, how about teachers? Are we preparing teachers? That can be the backfire. If we don't prepare our teachers, we get very enthusiastic and go ahead with it. Then people will say it doesn't work. It will not work with people who are not convinced. It is not a mechanical thing to teach values. Values. You have to not only believe, you are living that value, and only then would it work. That's my understanding as I have explored. So these facilitators are very, very important. And what I also believe is you just have to, the good news is you have to change only 10%. If you have changed 10%, the rest will change over course of time. But the 10% has to be really critical mass that you create in any organization. So if in our technical institutions in India, if you are able to change about 10% in every organization, the rest will follow, and somehow this seems to be, I've been reading, I've been sort of seeing, and when these convinced people are there, then it seems to change. In Bhutan Institute of Wellbeing, and my personal goal is to prepare these 108 convinced facilitators. We have got only 2 at the moment, and they are here. Dr. LinkedIn and Dr. Nezam are here. Okay, they are on making the journey. They are making the journey. Okay, and then we have got few who did not make it here, but 108. I like to put, say, if Ganesh ji and Rajiv Sangal can do as individual forces, they don't need money. They don't need anything. They have to be just convinced. They'll find the money. They know who to convince. And it will go, and I think if we have 108 people spread across the world, 108 Ganeshis, Okay? I'm quite convinced about it. So that is our commitment. And then I think what I personally have tried to do is when I retired as the Vice Chancellor, I thought this program should not die. Therefore, I said that whatever retirement benefits, I got some retirement benefit, 5 lakh or something like that, for extra years that I served in the university. So I said I must leave 1 lakh out of the 5 lakh, create a fund. And the fund should be, if the university should not say we have no money, this money should be used to send anybody anywhere to make this person a profound facilitator of university. And recently when the YDF, the Youth Development Fund of Bhutan, said, I'll be paid some money for my services there, I batted in my mind and said whether I should offer my services free. Then when you offer it free, sometimes people think that this is useless. So I said, no, I'll take what they give me. 10% of whatever I get per month, I'll plow it back into a trust fund for developing these people. And this is us beginning to crawl. And I'm quite sure one day somebody who is convinced will come and say, I'll put all my saving here. So I think those are really critical. And finally, I'd like to say Rashideli means let the best of the best happen. And it's been a pleasure to attend this conference here. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for giving this space. And thank you, AICT. I'm so delighted that you are here in person to celebrate our victory. We are going to change the world.